Welcome to the Rising for Women podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Merlo-Booth, and I believe the world will be changed for women when we change how we walk in it. So each week, we're going to have hard conversations. We're going to explore new options. Some of them are going to be hard options, and we're going to have some real, straight talk. We're going to do that because I have faith that women can handle it. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Rising Podcast for Women with Lisa Merlo-Booth, Dee Marcotte, and Arlene Newman. Our topic today is affairs. And in particular, we're going to do a two-part series this time. And the first part is going to be what we talk about today, which is what do you do when you have a spouse who's cheating on you? And next time we're going to talk about women who are cheating. Okay, so let's dive in. All three of us work with couples, and I don't know about you all, but I know a big part of my practice throughout the years has been affairs. And I have seen like emotional affairs, sexual affairs, one-night stands. I've seen affairs that have gone on for years and years. And I'm imagining you guys have as well. And so let's talk a little bit about what we're seeing. What's the impact? What are we seeing women do that's not helping them around this whole thing? And let's dive in a little bit. And I just wanted to start, let me just throw a couple statistics out there. To give everybody a base of, how often are affairs going on? Because some people are like, everybody's having them. And the reality is, no, not everybody's having them. That's just not true. However, when they did research on married people having sexual affairs, it's showing up that 15% of married women have cheated and 25% of married men. So 1 in 4 men are cheating, and what is that, like 0.75 of women are cheating, So what do you all think? What are some of the things you're seeing with affairs, and do those stats surprise you, not surprise you?
I think they're lower than I would have expected, given what comes into my office.
Yeah.
But obviously, they would come to my office because it's so emotionally disconcerting and upsetting and difficult to deal with. So they would see that more.
Yeah. I thought the same thing, because I get a lot in my office. And, when I'm thinking 25% and 15%, I'm like, oh, there's a lot of people who are not doing this.
Yeah.
By far the majority are not having affairs. I saw another interesting statistic though, which was the chance of one person who's had one affair cheating again is 350%.
Yeah, absolutely.
350%.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
So if you're with somebody who had an affair, be careful. The statistics are extremely high that they would do it again. But we'll get into that. We'll jump in, into what I'm seeing and what you guys are seeing around, repeat offenders, so to speak. But in general, what are you seeing? And I don't know if this is true for you guys, but for me, I feel like there is an immense normalization of affairs. There's a minimization of affairs. Everybody's having them. They're not that big of a deal. You can recover from them. You should just forgive. You should go on, like, from outsiders. I'm not hearing that from the people who are in the affairs. I'm hearing that from the people and from, like articles and blah, 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 who are on the outside of it. And what's your sense? Is it like not that big of a deal? Is it just like a little, something on the side and get over it? Or, what are you guys seeing?
Not with the couples that are coming in. No, there's devastation. There's absolute devastation. Mm-hmm. There's a sense of betrayal. The emotional cost is huge to the couple. However else you may choose to look at it theoretically, but emotionally, it's devastating.
Well, I think the other thing when we talk about it, like a lot of times for me, like it's bad enough that you went and had sex with someone else, but it's the lying.
Yeah.
The lying piece is that like you looked me in the face and told me you were in this place, but you were in that place.
Right.
You know,
again and again and again and again.
And even when I say to you, look, I have this,
Yeah.
and then you still lie.
Right. And then you try to make the person look like they're crazy.
Right.
That's a key part too. It's the crazy making part. Like something doesn't feel right. Oh my God, what's wrong with you? Would you get off my back? I'm just blah, 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 blah. Are you cheating on me? God, no. Would you like all that? Like you just start feeling like you're crazy, right? That's what a lot of my clients are like. You just start feeling crazy. And then, so I love it that you were just talking about. It's the incessant lying for any affair that goes that is an ongoing affair, right? Certainly there are one night stands, which also involves lying, but I've had clients where their partners have cheated on them for more than 2 years, like 2 years. That's just
Dad had an affair for 26.
Well, having a mistress, right? That's like really having.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just like, I don't even know. That's just mind boggling on some, the level of betrayal on that is so deep.
Yeah.
But the other part of the betrayal is you are now sharing our life with somebody that I have no idea is there. And, she gets to hear all the intimate details of what's going on with us. And you guys talk about us. Like, that deep level of betrayal as well. So, the betraying partner is talking intimately with the other partner about their family, and they often start demonizing their spouse, right? And there's a whole dynamic that starts playing out in affairs. It is not just about you had sex with this woman or this man or whoever. It's that you have betrayed us on such a deep level, on so many different levels.
And even worse, if I find out, like I had a couple, and it's, I think the other bad part, like, so there's that crazy making about I've lied. So then finally you go, okay, but the betraying partner gives you this much, but there's this much information. And so, the injured party goes, but I know there's something, I don't have the whole story here. And then, so then it dribbles out.
Yeah.
And I think it's even worse when, I actually knew the person.
Yes.
They were like my best friend, or they were my sister.
Right.
And
I've had couples where several of them, they were their best friend.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then it's the idea of, and then especially if they brought them into the home.
Yes.
Oh,
and they slept with them in your bed, right?
Yes.
In their bed.
And
Yes.
it's kind of like, so you looked at this picture and you sat on this couch and you had sex in this bed. And it's kind of like they can't even be in their own house then.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's deep. It like that betrayal is very deep. That's like on a soul level, gut level. That's very, very tough.
But one of the interesting things to me is, so that's like kind of like the super worst case scenario, but there's just, especially if it's gone on for some time, the idea that, so wait a minute, when we were at your mother's for Thanksgiving, and I was sitting at the table trying to make conversation with your mother, you were out in the backyard talking to your
mistress,
affair partner,
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, so it's sort of like, it makes everything that I thought was going on.
Yeah.
Like now, like that's not what was going on. So it's
Right.
very disorienting, I think.
Yeah. And then when you're like, so you know what? Like when I was saying, hey, we're feeling distant, or hey, you kept getting moodier and moodier, and you were angry every time you were in. So were you in the affair then? is that when it started? Like they can almost start demarcating the day, you know? And all this, when you said you were going on this trip for work, did she meet you? Yeah. Right. And then, you know, I've had clients, and this is a tough one. I've had clients, you know, say, like you said, it starts kind of, some of the information starts coming out. And then they're like, I want to know if you've had any other affairs. Right. And they're like, no. And they're like, okay, well, I don't trust you now. I want you to do a lie detector test. I'm not taking a lie detector test. I'm not doing it. That's crazy. They don't work, blah, 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 blah. And what I say, you know, with that is, look, if they refuse to take the lie detector test, you just need to know that they probably are lying. And then you have to figure out, what does that mean for me? Like, are you, you know, what are you going to do? Like, are you going to leave? Is that going to be a deal breaker for you? What's happening? But there's so many damaging things that can happen. There have been some really, you know, tough ones, and people who you would never expect to cheat, you know, cheat, right?
That is true.
And yeah, it's very tough.
I have a lot of women say the one thing that I thought they would never do.
Yes.
Have an affair.
I always trusted him.
That's a whole nother kind of shattering.
Yeah. It is, because then you can't, you really lose sight of trusting yourself. It's like, what happened? How did I swore he would never do that. He's the one person who wouldn't do that to me, or she's the one person that wouldn't do that to me. And then they do this, like, what? Or, you know, some women who have their past marriages or past, you know, significant relationships ended because the other person cheated. And so this person knew, don't ever do that to me. And then they do it, you know? So let's talk for a moment about, what do you see the damaging reactions of the women who have been cheated on? What do you see them doing that just is not helpful to them?
Screaming.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like, I totally understand the desire to scream, and especially with all this stuff, but it doesn't help the situation for you to get more of the information.
Yeah, I've had clients who have gone to the office and ripped the office apart, like just totally just, you know, went crazy on the office, and some who have keyed cars, and some, like, they're so angry and so hurt and so betrayed that they just, like,
don't know what to do with themselves.
They don't know how to contain it.
They don't.
And many have felt justified after, you know, so I've seen that. I've also seen women who start blaming themselves. Well, I've gained weight, or well, I've done this, or well, I've done that. And so then what they start doing is they start turning into a sex pot, like trying to have as much sex as they can with him, and trying to win them over, and begging the man to stay, and begging their husbands, please don't go, I'll do whatever you want.
I see women getting very stuck in the outrage and really not knowing how to get beyond it, one way or the other.
Yeah.
Like it can't be undone. So they have to somehow come to, but they can't let go. So they kind of are just angry and outraged, and they can get very stuck in that place. And I think it's hard to know for a lot of women how they want to deal with it. You know, what, like, do they want to really see if the relationship can be repaired, or is the betrayal so deep that there's no way they can go there? And then women get very stuck when they feel like they can't leave because they have small children, whatever. There's so many, can get so complicated and messy.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, you know, you were talking at the beginning, Lisa, about, I think the other thing that's not helpful is, in some ways, is that, so the woman goes and talks to their friends and their family and whoever, and they're all divided. So leave. You have to stay in for a gap. You know, and so it's kind of like, so that doesn't help me figure out what I would want to do.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like, now, no matter what I pick, somebody's going to think whatever of me or judge me. And so now there's that level of what's happening.
That I've seen so much harm done with that. I've seen, you know, friendships have been lost, family relationships have been hurt when, you know, I know one client, not just one client, many clients where, you know, their moms are, you should forgive him. He's nice. You know, he's a nice guy. Everybody makes mistakes. And then their family members start reaching out to him, right? Like, hey, I know you guys are trouble, and I just want you to know we always love you. How are you doing? And then the woman feels betrayed again.
Right.
She's like, you know, and it's a no-win situation with that. Or they go to their best friend, and their best friends are like, you know what? Just, he's a great guy. He, you know, all guys do it. All guys cheat. Just, you know, get over it. Blah, 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 blah. Or they're like, he's an ass. Leave him. Just get, you know.
Right.
And I think that women in general, I think our training is to doubt ourselves. And so we're often going to somebody else just to confirm what we're thinking. And with affairs, what I tell women is, you have no idea what part of what they're saying is about their own history. Maybe their parents had affairs in their parents and they were so mad that their mom left, or maybe their own, they've also cheated and they haven't told you that they've cheated. And they, so what other people are saying have really very little to do with the person who has been betrayed. What they're saying has more to do with their, you know, own interpersonal stuff. And I think it's really important for women to realize that they don't know what's best for you. They're not going to be living in your life. You're the one who has to come up with this decision, and you're the one that has to live with it day to day. And that's going to be very different for different women. Some women, hell no, they know in an instant that they can't. Other women are like, you know, maybe, I don't know. Other women are like, I thought I'd be hell no, but now that I'm in this situation, I'm like, damn it, I wish I were hell no. Like,
right.
You really don't know unless you're walking in those shoes.
And it's important not to have a judgment about where you are, but to really give yourself the space to find out what it is that you need, you know, and what you want moving forward, and not let all of these voices from the outside sway you, because it's going to be your life.
Right.
And there isn't an answer. There is your answer and what you come to.
Right. I will say, though, there are some necessary pieces that need to fall into play in order for this marriage to be able to survive it.
I was with you.
Right. And so while we can say there's no answer, we're going to give you some guideposts, because I think it's really important that you have those guideposts, right? And we can also give you a list of, don't do these things, right? Don't do this. And here's how you're going to have to look at, you know, make these decisions. And here's what you need for, you know, even for a chance for this to work. So let's kind of jump in on some of those, because I think those are important things. Like, how about we start with what not to do? So you both said, you know, they get extreme and they have a really hard time getting that grounded, powerful strength, right? They're like, you hurt me. Now I get to scream and yell and go crazy on you because you did such damage to us.
Right.
And, that, as hard as this is for women to hear, and I know it's very hard to hear, women, if you've been cheated on, you don't have the right to scream and yell and go crazy on him. And even if you did have that right, it doesn't get you anywhere. Not gonna.
Right, then you look like the crazy person.
Right.
Exactly.
And so they don't have to. They can like absolve themselves of responsibility, because they go like, well, I might have done that, but look what you're doing. And so you can't ever get anything you want that way.
Yeah. And so what you want to do is you want to take all that anger, all that animosity, all that hurt, and you got to get clarity, and you want to be able to speak to that with a grounded, powerful strength. And that might be a hard conversation. That is going to be many hard conversations. But what that's going to sound like is something like, I cannot even begin to tell you how much you absolutely crushed my heart on this. Mm-hmm. I thought you were somebody else. You are not the man that I thought that I married. And that you can do this is rocking to me to my core. And I got to tell you, I don't know what I'm going to do. I can tell you right now, I look at you different. I feel different. I'm freaking out in many ways. I hate you. A part of me hates you. A part of me hates that you did this to us. And I don't know what I'm going to do, but I want you to know in no uncertain terms that I am devastated that you, the person who I should have trusted more than anybody in my life, would do this. And I don't know what I'm going to do. I got to think. I need to take space. But I know that you need to hear this piece. And I might need to tell you again and again and again until we can work through it. And I don't know if I even want to work through it. Mm-hmm. But you need to know that. Like, you can have many conversations like that. You can talk about your struggles. You can say, look, I got to tell you, like, I don't even want to look at, there are times I don't even want to look at you. When you come home, I cringe. I don't want you touching me. I don't know what to do with those feelings. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I'm going to get past them. Mm-hmm. And so, but you going, wah, and screaming and yelling and going crazy, one, he's not going to hear it. And he's going to be like, thank God. This is why I went out there. Like, he's going to make up stuff. Right. He's going to give himself a pass. When you are just straight and being clean with him, it gives him the moment to like sit with what he did. Because you're not being crazy. You're just being honest. And then he's got to sit with that and figure out what he's going to do about it. And you have to figure out what you're going to do about it. Mm-hmm. So no crazies, right?
Well, the other thing is like that screaming and that kind of stuff. It's like, I'm going to make you hurt like I hurt. Mm-hmm. He's not going to hurt like you hurt.
No, it's not at all. Not at all.
That you can do. Like, the most that can have the impact and create some pain is what you just talked about, Lisa.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, these are my younger years, but when you say he's not, we wanting him to have the hurt, right. I remember when my husband and I were engaged, and I said something to him like, listen, I just want you to know, you ever cheat, I will find your best friend. I will sleep with him and I will make sure you're walking in on us. And he's like, Lisa, that's a little disturbing. I'm like, yeah, don't do it. And it's freaking funny when I think back now, it's like, oh my God. But there is like, you can totally get that piece of, I want revenge. And revenge is going to feel good in the moment. But then after you have that revenge hangover and you lose your integrity and you just kind of landed exactly where he was in the ick of it all. And I've had women, I've had couples where they kind of have like retribution affairs, like, mm-hmm. And you can't, it's not worth the cost. And, now I laugh at that. I would never do that, but I, in my 20s, I totally felt that like I would want him to hurt. And you're probably going to want him to hurt. You're going to want him to get it. You're going to want him to see the light, but you can't.
Well, that's the whole thing. When you start focusing on what you want him to feel rather than on what you need to feel in order for you to be able to heal.
Yeah.
So you're not, that way you're actually giving your power away.
Right.
And you focus so much on how he's going to feel, because it doesn't matter it matters what he does. Doesn't matter what he feels right now. Right. How is he going to behave given the damage that's been done?
Right. And the flip side of yelling and screaming is so many women are so afraid to lose him. So many women are so afraid to be on their own. They're afraid to be alone. They're afraid to, be a single mom. Or they just know like there's just a lot of hardships. And so they get super afraid, anxious, and then they start, trying to nice him into staying. And they placate and they over accommodate and they do whatever they think that they can do to win him back. Don't do that. Because in my experience, when women do that, the men lose even more respect for them, because they're looking at these women, they cheated on them. And then the women are like, please, please, please love me. Don't leave me. And the men just start looking down on them. And then you start thinking less of you. Now you're trying to prove that you're worthy of him staying. I know you're going to feel that, but don't ever go down that road. You are absolutely worthy. And I have so many women, I've gained weight, or I've done this, or I'm older now. Stop. That is not a reason to cheat at all. And so you really want to like come to grips with that. Try to do as much as you can to get yourself grounded and feeling worthy, and not putting your worth in his actions and, this affair.
Not looking at the affair as a reflection of your inadequacy.
Right.
If he's the one having the affair, that's about him.
Yeah.
It's about how he's coping with whatever led him there, not because you're not enough. That's a very hard thing, I think, for women to get.
It is.
That he's having an affair, not because you put on 20 pounds.
Right. It has nothing to do with you.
It's got nothing to do with you.
And if it did or does have something to do with you, he had 1,000 other options.
Exactly.
He could have put the marriage on the line. He could have said he wants to separate. He could have said we need to get into marriage therapy. There's lots of things he could have done, but cheating that's not one of them. So don't put that on you ever. Okay.
Don't involve the children.
Oh, yes.
Oh my God.
So that's the kind of thing where it's kind of like even, I mean, I've had it even with kids who are like 5 and 6. Do you know what your daddy did?
Oh, no.
I'm like, no. Do not put that on them. Kind of thing. It's important to let them know, yeah, mommy and daddy are having some trouble right now, and we're okay. You're okay, and I love you. But do not bring the children into this.
No. That's too damaging. They can't hold that. They are not your confidants. That's enmeshing. That's like, they are not your friends. You need to provide a safe, emotionally safe, healthy environment for them, no matter how difficult of a time you're going through.
Yes.
And totally get it that that's hard, but you don't speak to your children about what's going on in your marriage and about the affair.
That's called using your children.
Yeah.
Exploiting them because they're so vulnerable. Go find somebody else to talk to about.
Yeah, go find another
how bad it feels.
Yeah, but don't do that
right.
to children.
Right. Don't do that to your children. All right. Anything else we can think about for the what not to do?
Well, we talked about the yelling and screaming part, but there's also the complete cold shoulder part. I just won't talk to you for a week.
Well, I'm okay with a week. Like, I'm okay with like you being like, I'm so wounded. I can't look at you or talk to you for a while. I need like space, but then you got to come back,
But if you, and that's fine if you're just 2 adults and you say it.
Yes.
So you're saying this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
But if you don't say it and you just do it, I don't think that's okay. And if you have children, you have to be civil.
Yeah.
You have to interact at least in a civil sort of way.
Which is so hard. Yeah.
Oh my God. Terribly.
So hard. Or if you can't, then take space. Like just tell him to go. Tell him you need to find a hotel until I figure out what I want to do. I can't have you here. Yeah. I just, and that's okay. That's okay. You know, like I think so much of this is tune in, tune out. Tune into you. What do you need? What do you know you're capable of? What do you know you're not capable of? What kind of help are you going to need? Do you need him out of your space? Do you know, what do you need? And tune everybody else out. Don't worry about, you know, what your mom's going to say, your dad's going to say, or your best friend's going to say, or what your husband's going to say, or your wife if she's the one who cheated. It doesn't matter. So you just have to figure out what is it that you need, and then you got to ask for that and be direct about it. And it's really hard at first because you are spinning, especially if you didn't see this coming. It rocks your world. You know, I think, and I've actually, there's some evidence on this, that it's like PTSD. This is like, it's traumatic.
But you bring up something that I think is important, and that is, there is the myth out there that, well, you really knew on some level.
Yes.
You may not have known on any level.
Yeah.
You know, that's again, like how to blame the victim.
Right.
Right. Which is so hard. And even if you did have inklings, or you were wondering, and then you went to your spouse and she or he was like, no, 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 like, this is the person that you're supposed to trust the most in your life. So don't beat yourself up, you know? And just keep tuning in right now to see what you need.
Also, I think knowing that your reaction, the pain is so deep, it's at such a primitive level, that it may take you a while to get to the place where you can actually think straight. And I think you have to really pay close attention to how this is impacting on you.
Yeah.
You know, what deep part is this triggering for you? And really pay attention and get help and work it out so you can make the best kind of decision for yourself.
Right.
And you can't know that right away.
Yeah. And, you know, some people will say, don't make a decision about staying or going, you know, for 6 months to a year. Like, just try not to. I'm mixed on that. I think that some people are very clear. They know, you know, they just, you just know yourself, right? And if you're not sure, then let it play out a little bit. You know, there's no need to make a quick decision. But if you are sure and you know to your core,
you know, then you know. It's when you're not sure, when you're just so flooded with feelings that you can't really sort out where you are.
Right. And no shame. That, like, too many women beat up women for staying or for going.
Yeah.
Cut the shit, women. Like, you don't get to do that. You don't know what it's like to live with this person. You don't know what it's like in this marriage. And we need to support each other. You got to stop saying, oh, if you had a backbone, you would leave, or I would. Like, you don't know what you would do unless you're in that situation. And she doesn't need to hear you say that anyway. She doesn't need to hear you say, you should stay, or you should go, or he's a great guy. Stop. Just be there for her. Just say, what do you need? I know this is crazy hard. I can't imagine. I'm so sorry you're going through that. That's what she needs to hear. Don't tell her what to do. And don't judge her. Stop judging her. She's judging herself enough.
Yes, the judgments are killers.
Oh, horrible. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, before you make that decision, here's a couple of things that are necessary in order to have, if you want to try to make this marriage work, you need a couple things in place for any chance for it to work. And so one of the things that I believe that you need is you need remorse from your partner.
Absolutely.
If your partner is not being accountable and not being remorseful and blaming it on you and minimizing it and kind of like, you know, I'm not sorry I did it, but that you're not going to
Or
be
just
able to
the
go.
idea of we've talked about it already.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't have to talk about it anymore. That's not remorse.
Right. Right. Bottom line, there has to be a kind of a come to Jesus moment, which is a soul level. I am so sorry. I can't believe the damage that I caused. I want you to know I will spend the rest of my life, if I need to, earning your trust on this. And I can't believe I did it. I can't believe the harm I've caused you and our family. Like, it's got to be a genuine, and then if he does that or she does that, that's not just a one and done. So let's say he has that remorse or she has that remorse, and then they're like, I don't want to talk about it, I've already apologized. No, not enough. But first off, you need, if they're not sorry, you have to really, what did I say, the 350% chance of cheating again? If they're not sorry, you better bet your butt that when times get hard, they're going to cheat again. And you just need to know that. And if you're staying, you're staying more out of fear and other circumstances, be honest with yourself. What else do you think they need? So kind of speaking to what Dee said, Dee, say a little bit more about what is necessary for them to heal around, they can't just say, we've already talked about it. Like, so what do they need?
I think it's a series, like you said, it's a series of really difficult conversations. And, the general consensus is it takes 3 to 5 years to recover from an affair. And, that doesn't mean like it's always the same as it was in the first year, but it does mean it will continue to come up. It doesn't, it's not like this goes away. It now is a part of the relationship. And so recognizing that anything like, I've had couples where they were kind of like, oh, let's watch this movie. And then there's an affair in the movie and like the whole thing comes up, and it was 2 years later, after it all and that kind of stuff. So, so I think that's the part that I'm talking about is like, it's going to come up. It's really intense, that first year. After that first year, it's kind of like, okay, I think that as the injured party, you have to come up with, can I really get over this if I'm still heightened, or are they not remorseful? In which case I have no reason to believe them.
Right. And even before you get to the point of working on the relationship,
right?
Like, if they're blaming you, if they're not, if they're defending what they did, if they're not remorseful about it, those 3 are deal breakers.
Right.
Those off the top, before you ever even think to work on it, you want to be looking, if that's happening, you want to take a slow look and really pause and check in and be like, wait a second, am I the only one who's pushing for this and pushing for this? And if the other thing is, if they still want to see the affair partner, if they're not willing to let that affair partner go, what are you doing? Like, you need to know if they don't want that affair partner to go, then now you're looking at your own insecurity and your own personal issues, and your work is for you to get into therapy so that you're strong enough to not have to settle because you're too afraid. So you're going to share him or her, not because you believe in open marriages or anything, but because you are too afraid to leave. Like, you need to do your own work on that.
Yeah, I think that's like an absolute, like they have to get rid of the affair partner, as well as kind of like part of this remorse piece is not just the feeling of it, but I think the idea of, is there transparency?
Yeah.
Most of the time, I would say people have found an email or text messages or these different kinds of things that, like, finally the person having the affair has to say, okay, yeah, I was doing that. And so now it's the kind of thing of, you know, you get to say, I'd like to see your phone.
So that goes back to, you know, what's necessary is, are they willing to work to earn your trust?
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll talk about how they have to do all these things. But if you're just deciding, can I work this marriage? Is it going to be possible? They need to be willing to work your trust. They need to, you know, these little checklists need to happen. Otherwise, you're not really making a decision to work the marriage, because they're not, you know?
And this
And,
might
you
be
know,
going back a little bit, but with the what not to do,
Mm-hmm.
because what you're talking about are like these bigger areas. And so part of what they have to be willing to talk with you about also is, what came up for you? How did you lie to my face? What were you, how
Yes.
did you think about me or the kids when you went ahead and
Yes.
said you were going here, but you went, you know, those kinds of things. Do not ask for the sexual specifics.
Oh, yeah.
This is an image you do not want.
yeah, you don't want to carry that around.
Yeah. Assume the sex was good. Assume the sex was hot. That was part of the relationship.
Yeah.
You don't need those details. Figure out all the other ones. But what you just said is another thing that needs to be, they have to be willing to talk about the impact of this on you and to answer questions and to work through it. They have to be willing to do that too. Otherwise, you're not really making a decision to work on this relationship or not. You know? All right. Anything else,
Well,
Arlene, that you go ahead?
what I'm thinking about as we're talking is that the whole relationship has to change. That whatever led to the affair, to me, means that there was a lot that was not actually being dealt with in the relationship. That the person having the affair took his whatever needs and feelings and he took it outside the relationship, and that has to shift. That you have to show up in the relationship in a different way, and both people have to show up in a different way. They both have to be able to hold each other accountable, talk about what they experience with each other, and not sweep things under the rug, where this kind of thing can easily happen again. You know, if you just find yourself feeling things and seeing things and knowing things, but well, we don't talk about that. He's uncomfortable talking about that. He doesn't know how to talk about that. So, okay, all right, okay, I'll swallow.
Yeah.
And then you open the door for that to be like a way to go out and get a fix, which is how I often think about it.
I think that that's true, you know, that is true. I also think that there are times when the marriage is fine. And they just go out. And I've had couples say, no, we were very happy. We were having sex. Everything was fun. It's just, I had this opportunity and I went for it. So I think we have to be careful. It's not always, you know, that something was wrong with the marriage and they went outside of it. Sometimes that's just what they did. And so you have to figure out.
That's true.
Yeah. And you have to figure out which is which. Because if you have somebody where the marriage is really good, there wasn't a problem, and they went out, the odds of them going out again are high, especially if you don't have the remorse, the, you know, mea culpa, taking full responsibility, all of that.
And also understanding why you did it in the first place. Okay, have an opportunity, but not everybody who has an opportunity acts on it. So why was it okay? Why was it okay for you to have chosen to do that? Like who are you that you think it's okay to do that?
Exactly. And for the spouse, if you're the one who got cheated on and your partner, you know, she or he says that, well, they just had the opportunity, you want to be looking at, wow, who did I marry? Who is this person?
Exactly.
Who is this person? Right? And get out of the fantasy stage of who you think they are, and you know, that's going to look.
Well, that may be another thing that's very hard. It's very hard to look at your spouse and see parts of them that you never saw before.
Right.
See their shadow part.
Yeah.
It'd be very hard to live with that.
Absolutely. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about, so what is required? Dee started talking about it a minute ago. Like, you know, she said, it takes 3 to 5 years to work on an affair. And that's when people are doing it well, is what I would say, right? And so what is necessary if you want to work the affair? And if you were, yeah.
Well, I think one thing is like going to couples therapy, like from the get-go, because I get so many people who like, they decided not to go and just forget about it or do whatever. And now it's 5, 6, 9 years later. And it's like it happened yesterday.
Yeah, because it was never healed.
Nothing. So this is not something you can do on your own. You have to have help.
I agree with that 100%.
So do I.
Get help. Take it outside of just the marriage, and get help by a competent person who really works with couples. You need, don't just go to any therapist or any, you need somebody who specializes with couples, because it's a very unique skill. There's a great list, terryreal.com. They have therapists on that list who specialize with couples, working with couples. So Terry, TERRY.com. And it says find a therapist in your area. So that's a great list. Okay, so get help. You need, Dee, you talked about a minute ago, transparency. What transparency means is you want, one way to earn trust is you have your life be an open book, which means the person who cheated opens up their phone, their text, their computer. Anytime their spouse is saying, hey, I got an uneasy feeling, you know, who are you texting? You're just going to hand it over the phone. Here, absolutely take a look. If you have nothing to hide, that's not going to be a problem. It's shocking how big of a problem this is for so many people. If my husband was anxious about me cheating, and he's not normally the jealous type, and he's like, Lisa, what's going on? I'm like, oh, honey, I'm so sorry you're feeling that way. Here, take my phone, look through it, you know, because I want to ease his concern. Like, I don't want to be bummed out like that. And so, and it also gives me the opportunity for him to trust me. Like, oh, I got nothing to hide. And so transparency, and we usually say for like the first 3 months, you're not going to do this all the time where you're, you know, because it's no fun for you to be a private detective. But there are going to be moments when you're just feeling uneasy, something's not right, and you want to check the phone. If they're like hiding it or they pull it around, they're like, no, you're not checking my freaking phone. That's not the way I'm going to go. That's a red flag. Absolute red flag. Your shackles should get up. You should be a little nervous about that. If they're hiding passwords on their phone. What?
You should be a lot nervous, not a little nervous.
Right. A lot nervous. You know, people don't hide things unless they have something to hide.
Exactly.
Right? So the transparency, what other things? The frequent talking, that talking shows up in so many ways, right? You're gonna, one day you're going fine and you guys are having a great time. And then just the fact that you're having a great time triggers the memory of the affair. And then you start like feeling like crap and like, oh my God, am I being stupid that I'm trusting him or her? Why am I doing that? You can be having sex and in the middle of sex being like, oh my God, what the hell am I doing? Why am I doing this? I wonder, you know, how they had sex. You can be going to, you know, dinner. And it just happens to be a reminder of the time. Like there's so many, you know, what Dee said, you're watching TV, there's so many triggers. And what I tell my couples is the person who cheated, all of these triggers for the person who was betrayed are an opportunity for the person who cheated to earn trust and be supportive. So when, you know, she's like, oh my God, I just thought about the affair. I can't believe you did that. Instead of you like, really, are we going to go there again? The response should be, honey, I'm so sorry that you're getting triggered. I know, I'm so sorry about the damage this has caused and how hard. Would you like a hug? What can I do? Like hold her hand, do something. If he's getting defensive with all your triggers, or if you're in a gay relationship, your female partner is getting defensive, that's a red flag. That's going to be very tough. That's going to move that 3 to 5 years to a possibly forever thing if they don't get this. You know?
Well, I think it goes along with the remorse. If someone really has remorse, then they're going to do what you're talking about. And they're going to understand that, like, one of the things I tell my couples is, especially for the person who was the betrayer, is, look, this is the consequence of the choice you made.
That's right.
You know, this is what comes along with it. And yes, it could be here forever. Now, it shouldn't be as intense
as much, yeah,
and that kind of thing, but yeah, this is, you know, there's a scar here.
Yes,
you know?
Absolutely. That's what I have to take responsibility for. Doesn't mean that the spouse gets, you know, an okay and beating the shit out of him. But it has to be open. Has to be open. You have to be able to say how you feel. You never want to feel, if you are the spouse that it was done to, you never want to feel like you can't bring it up.
Right. Yeah. You speak it clean, do it with a clean energy, and you have to, because not doing it, you don't have your back. You also aren't having the couple's back, because it's going to sit whether you say it or not. It's sitting within you, you know? So what else, Arlene? What do you think?
I'm thinking about, you know, something that Dee said earlier really stuck with me, that once you have an affair, you have brought a foreign object into the relationship that is now part of that relationship forever, no matter what. Even if you can heal, it's just there. Like the relationship is no longer just the two of you. There is this other thing that has been injected into the relationship, and somehow you have to acknowledge that it doesn't go away. It never goes away. That scar is always going to be there.
And it fades, right? At first, it's like all you see and all you feel.
Yeah, and it's very inflamed, right? It's very inflamed, and then the inflammation has a chance to go down if you process all of it and everything that we've said. But that scar will always be there.
Yeah.
And when you touch it, it may still hurt forever. Right. You know, maybe less over time. Maybe 40 years later, if it never happens again, it's very minor, but it's there. And it was caused by your relationship. And I think that's important to acknowledge that and not think that it can disappear.
Yeah, that's such a great point. Sometimes couples will say, oh my God, I don't know if I want to do that work. That's a lot of work. And that's part of your decision, that because it is a lot of work. And I've had so many, you know, people who have done the betraying and they don't want to talk about it, and they don't want to talk about it, and they don't want to talk about it, and they get snappy and they get, oh my God, can we just forget about this? And by doing that, they just prolong it, and they keep, it's like now you keep opening the wound and opening the wound and opening the wound. You don't allow it to heal, when sometimes it just takes a minor, like, you know, I know, honey, I'm sorry, you know, I want you to know I won't do this again. But some people can't do that, choose not to do that. And if that's the marriage that you're in, that's a red flag. Like, you know, what I would say is if that keeps happening, walk away. Get the strength to walk away. If the person just can't talk through it with you and can't be accountable for it, it's really, the pain of leaving is going to be a lot less than the pain of staying and having to hold it in every time, because you don't have a partner who's willing to work it through with you.
Well, it's a little like saying, you know, well, if we look at the relationship, like, let's plant a garden. And like the tornado came, you know, the affair came, poof. Okay, now we're gonna see if we can replant, but the other person's not putting any dirt in.
Yeah.
or any seeds in,
Mhm.
well, then what do you have?
Right.
You
Can't
know?
grow.
Yeah, nothing can
Exactly.
happen there. Mhm,
Right.
mhm.
Okay. Any other things that we're thinking if women were showing up with a grounded, powerful strength in reaction to an affair, their partner cheated, what else would we recommend that they need to do?
Well, I think there is this piece about after, somewhere after the first year, if in fact you are still at a 10 out of 10, like that, like you
Yeah.
really need to go to your own therapy and determine, is this really a place to stay for you?
Yeah.
Because somehow you're staying, but you're not really, it can't get metabolized for you.
Right.
And so you're just kind of staying in this hyper aroused state where like your body is continuing to have the same reaction. And now I think it's time for you to look at, okay, can I really work with this and move on or not?
Yeah.
I've seen with some women, it's like they're angry at themselves for staying, and they take it out on him, and they keep getting angry at him, and at that 10, because they want to let him, or if they're in a gay relationship, they want to let her know that you can't do this to me, you can't do this to me, you can't do this to me, da, da, da. And really they're so afraid that they're going to do it again, and also they feel like they're like a wimp, or weak if they let them stay, so they kind of stay but make them pay, so that they can think that they're not weak, and they can also not leave. And with that, you have to really look at, are you that angry at yourself for staying? And if you are, maybe this isn't the move for you. No judgment. Like no judgment on that. And if you're staying because of kids and or fear, or money or whatever, then be honest with yourself that that's what you're doing, and be honest with your partner that that's what you're doing. And then have a more honest relationship. Like, look, this is where I'm at. And then if you need to get a job to make money, or you say, listen, I want us to raise these kids for the next 3 years because our kids, because I think that's important, can we do that? Figure it out. But you can't punish him in order to feel like you're not being weak, or in order to feel like somehow you're standing up for yourself. You can't do that.
Well, and even in terms of the kid thing that you're talking about, it's like that if you're at it like that all the time, the two of you, that is not helping the kids.
No, not at all.
Don't fool yourself that I'm staying for the kids, but then the environment that I'm having them in is so horribly toxic.
Yeah.
Totally. All right. Anything else?
I think with all the things we've talked about, though, just coming back to that idea of, does the betraying partner have remorse? And that isn't saying I'm sorry. That's all the different things that we've talked about, kind of thing. I mean, I think that's just the biggest piece.
Yeah, that's a consistent day-to-day, moment-to-moment showing up for you and earning your trust back. It's not about you incessantly proving to your spouse that you're enough for them to stay. Get out of that. It's really them proving to you that they're trustworthy now, and that they're going to do whatever they can to make this marriage on solid ground. And like Arlene said earlier, you're not going back to the old marriage. This is about creating a new marriage. So you have to look at your stuff, not that pushed him, not that caused him to have an affair. Nobody's causes anybody to have an affair. People make those choices 100% on their own. But you need a new relationship now. You're not going back to the old one. And so you both have to do that work. So get help to do that work.
And be honest with yourself. Keep checking in with yourself. Don't be intimidated into thinking that you should be feeling something that does not feel authentic to you and real to you. You know, if he tells you get over it and you're not over it, you have to listen to why you're not over it and what it is that you need to keep working on.
And you're in a very big boat if you're not over it. You, women and men don't get over this for years and years and years. So know that. So, and Arlene, what you just said, let's just bring that right into the challenge. So the challenge for anybody who's on the receiving end of cheating, if you've been cheated on, here's your challenge with this.
Yeah, you have to be respectful to your own experience and not minimize it and not be intimidated or use other people's judgments against yourself, and hold on to yourself. If things don't feel right to you and you're still feeling whatever you're feeling, you have to pay attention. That's your responsibility.
Yeah. Tune in, tune out. Tune in to you, tune out everybody else. Everybody else is going to have 1,000 opinions, 1,000 thoughts. They're not living your life.
Exactly.
So when you leave this podcast, really start thinking, and what do I feel? What do I think? What's working for me? What's not working for me? Was there remorse? Just tune in and keep checking in with yourself.
Yeah, real remorse. That's another thing that you said before, Dee. It's not saying I'm sorry, but real remorse, taking real responsibility for the damage that behavior has caused.
Right. Mm-hmm. Let's do a challenge for the men or the partners who cheated. So the challenge for those of you who have cheated, who are on the other side of this, and for the men, or if you're in a gay relationship, for the women, your job is to really first slow down and take a look at how you have been showing up since the discovery. Have you been earning trust? Are you transparent? Are you pushing them to move on? Or are you supportive and understanding and knowing that this is a process? And are you being honest? If you're not, anyway, so pay attention to that. Do a hard look and figure out where you're at.
Take responsibility for what you did.
Yeah. Full responsibility.
Full.
You did this on your own. It wasn't because she wasn't paying attention to anything. You did this. There's 1,000 other things you could have done. So, all right, you all. Next podcast, we're going to talk about kind of part 2 to affairs. So that'll be to the women who are actually having affairs themselves, not the ones who are being cheated on, but the ones who are doing the cheating. We'll have a conversation about that. In the meantime, for those of you who are struggling to repair affairs or to heal from affairs, our heart goes out to you. We know it is a very, very difficult process. Give yourself a lot of love and compassion. No blame, right? Just keep tuning in and tuning out. If you have questions for us, put the questions, in the comments below. We'd love to do our best to answer them. And best of luck. Thank you again for joining us this week. And always remember, you have the power to change the world for women by changing how you walk in it. I challenge you to choose one way to stand in your grounded, powerful strength this week and be part of the ripple of change.